Hi, I'm Joni Patry, and welcome to my YouTube channel. Well, today I want to talk about a death that has just occurred, and it is the president of Iran. And it was an accident. He was in a helicopter that crashed, and it happened on May 19th. And I just wanted to really get a look at the chart, which a couple of months ago I did a reading for Iran. And I actually looked at the head, the old president, which is there till he passes, Ali Khamenei. And when I looked at his chart, it said there was something bad about to occur, as well as when I pulled up the chart for Iran, because both he and the chart for Iran are affected deeply by the eclipse that just occurred this last April. So the eclipse was occurring on the sun for the chart of Iran, as well as the moon and natal Saturn for the chart of Ali Khamenei. And eclipses are major radical shifts and changes. But when I pulled up the chart of Ebrahim Raisi, who just died in the airplane crash, it was astounding what I found. There was an exact aspect that represents major accidents. So I'm going to show you his chart, and I think you're going to agree with me. This was almost inevitable. It really was a striking aspect that doesn't happen all the time. It is a very rare aspect. So let me scoot over and show you his chart. So here we have the chart for Ebrahim Raisi, and we're not sure of his birth time. As a matter of fact, we don't have a birth time. What do I mean? We are sure of his day of birth. So he was born December 14th, 1960. So when we don't have a birth time, we essentially just give it noontime, which means it's in the middle of the day, so that we can get a better look as to where the moon could be that day. And most probably his moon sits in Libra, because it was in Libra almost the entire day. I think early in the morning, it may not have been in Libra if he was born like maybe midnight to 2 in the morning, but otherwise the moon is in Libra the entire day. So we can look at the moon by being the first house, and that can give us some definite information. But let me show you where I think the transit is that really nails this accident as being something that was so specific around that time. So looking at this, let me explain. We're looking at where the transiting planets are, where the planets are in the sky, and then we plug them into the birth chart to see how they situate or how they affect the birth chart. So down below here, I'm putting the transits for that day, which was May 19th when the accident happened. And the first thing that pops off the chart is I want you to look at where transiting Uranus was on the day that he had his accident. And it's at 29 degrees of Aries. Look at his birth chart. Do you see anything 29 degrees? Well, you're right, you spotted it. It is where his sun sits. His sun sits at 29 degrees of Scorpio. And for that whole day, the sun is 29 degrees of Scorpio. So yes, everyone born around December 14th, there can be some situations that can be very difficult for them. They have to be cautious because everyone born that day, and even regardless what year you're born, you have your sun at 29 degrees of Scorpio. And this means Uranus is at 29 degrees of Aries till it moves over into Taurus on June 1st. There's trouble. Now with it at 29 degrees, if you'll count from where transiting Uranus is in Aries, plug it in, it will be in his third house, which actually the third house is the house of traveling. Okay, so Uranus is the planet of sudden, unexpected events and accidents. But count to where the sun is. If you'll count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. His sun sits in the 8th house from where Uranus is transiting. So Uranus is actually what we would call in a quincunx to his natal sun. But the fact that it's in a 6-8 relationship, because if you count from the sun back to Uranus, it will be 6 houses. 8 represents death and 6 is accidents. So this is a powerful transit. Now, of course, everybody born this day is not going to have such a thing happen, of course. So you need another transit to be a trigger, right? So you can't just have these long-standing transits. If something's to happen, you have to have another transit. That is what I call the triggering planet. So around the time that this transit is exact, what else would be exact that would point to this day? And I pulled up where Rahu and Mars were on this day. They both sit at 20 degrees of Pisces. Okay, so Mars has a special full effect aspects. It's actually got, well, I'm going to say the conjunction's 1, the opposition is 2, and any planet that sits 4 placements or 8 placements from Mars, that would be as powerful as Mars as it would be in a conjunction. They're all 100% in power and effect. So plugging in the Rahu, Mars, 20 degrees of Pisces, look over here to Gemini, where natal Mars sits at 21 degrees. Now, I basically give it a 3-degree orb, but if you got something within a degree, 1 degree, it's dead on. And Mars Rahu conjunction on that day exactly squared his natal Mars at 21 degrees of Gemini. So that was the trigger. Mars was the trigger for the day. So it could have happened on the 19th or the 20th, the 21st, but those days were critical in his chart for that square to be exact. And actually, the moon was in Virgo on that day. So the moon was in effect at the time opposing the Mars Rahu, and the moon was conjuncting Ketu on that day, and natal Mars sat at the fulcrum, the midpoint of Moon Ketu, Mars Rahu, and his natal Mars was triggered. But it was that Uranus, because let me say this, the transit of Mars or the moon, they happen quite often. As a matter of fact, Mars won't be with Rahu in Pisces for a while, for a long time. But Mars comes together with Rahu every 2 years. And if Mars is going to aspect natal Mars, then this happens every 2 years. But it never will happen in his lifetime while Uranus is aspecting his sun. And let me explain why. Because Uranus is a slow-moving planet. When you have those slow-moving planets make an aspect, they're life-changing because they can't happen but one time in a lifetime. Uranus takes 84 years to go through the zodiac, so there will never be a time in his lifetime that it will come back and be in this position again. But the Mars transit can happen quite often, every 2 years, and maybe with it coming back to being with Rahu a bit longer. But when you pair these things together, this is how you make these type of predictions. And it is very clear that this was the day that he could be involved in a serious accident, traveling, unexpected, out of the blue, something you didn't know that came around the corner. That's Uranus energy. And Uranus rules accidents, and so does Mars. So I just wanted you to get a little taste of how astrology really works and how you could see these things. And I didn't even pull up his chart. I was looking at Iran. I was looking at the former elder president. And this was the chart that really nailed what's going on. Now, I do think there is radical shifts and changes because of this coming for Iran. You better believe it. There is a lot coming that will boil down into this because that eclipse that we had in April affected the chart of Iran and their leader, Khomeini. So watch this country, watch what's happening. Things are happening out of our control. The planets are the controllers. So let's just see how things evolve. And so with that, I think I'll close. If this has inspired you to learn Vedic astrology, check out my university. You can learn and become an astrologer. Go to University of Vedic Astrology.com, and remember to go check out my website, sign up for my free newsletter, go to galacticcenter.org, and there you can find out more about me, readings, as well as don't forget my Patreon page, and don't forget my galactic planner. If you enjoyed seeing these transits hitting in his chart, my galactic planner will give you all of your personal transits hitting your chart, so you will know when to take caution. Go to galacticplanner.com, sign up for a free month, see if you like it, and I promise you will. So with that, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.